Hello everyone, Renok here. Today I'm going to show you this mask that I 3D printed and how I turned it into the front man mask from Squid Games. So as you can see, the mask, there's some zitting from the 3D print. I don't have all my settings obviously dialed in, but I didn't have a lot of time to do so. It's a little under extruding in some areas and it probably needs to have some flow rate adjusted. But without a lot of time to calibrate it before doing this day print, before I needed it done the next day to be worn, I decided that I was going to have to just make do with it. So, in this, you're going to need a small pair of pliers or something to get the little zit and little lineage off. I'll put the STL file in the description below and some sort of file or way to kind of smooth off some of the edges. Now, a lot of these, as you can just see, fall right off. They're from the supports. It wasn't really a big issue, but some of the ways that the support's attached to, like as you can see right here, it kind of got really attached and I'll have to do a little bit more work on it. But overall, just took a couple minutes to clean up here, sand out. I'll show you the overall process as we go through with a little bit of a time lapse here. But for the most part, it came out really well. Um, I did run into the inside of it and making sure that the inside, how it ran along the neckline and everything was nice and smooth. And as you see later on, as I add in some of the padding and whatnot, I just wanted to make sure everything fit in properly. So after cleaning it up for a little bit, sanding it down, this is the finished product. It's very smoothed out, no edges, no real bumps or anything that's going to catch anybody. I did make sure that the nose and area on the inside is going to be able to fit any of the foam. That way I'm going to be able to attach it and make it nice and soft and padded. And then the print did have little holes in the side, but I'm just going to super glue it the sides with my elastic. And I'm going to prime this with a black primer and make sure that it kind of seals it in a little bit. And then this should be good to go. Next step, print out these eye patches that cover the eye holes for the mask. That way it gives it a little bit more feel like it has in the actual show. Once we do this, we'll basically glue these to the back side and get them all set up. After that, you're going to want to get your hot glue gun, and I'm going to take the inside pieces of the meshing that we just cut out, and I'm going to bend mine just a little bit so that way they kind of go with the curvature and the contour of this mask. Now I'm going to just apply glue all the way on the inside of this. I was kind of Honestly, I put quite a bit on. I just wanted to make sure they stayed in place and didn't move around or shift. As I applied it, I wanted to make sure it was even. I didn't want too much seeping through in the other way. That way, in the cleanup, you didn't really have as much popping through. It wasn't as noticeable. Push that in pretty firmly, making sure it's secure. And as you can see, comes through really nicely. There's a little bit of cleanup that I'll need to do, but not too bad. Now that we have the eye meshings in place, I'm going to go around with an X-Acto knife and just kind of trim off the excess of the glue that kind of protruded through when we were pushing all of that pressure and getting those uh, meshings into place. If you let it cool, it's pretty easy if you just cut down a little bit into it without damaging the filament and the print, and then you can kind of just peel it back quite easily. I went through and did this on both eyes. Took just a couple of minutes. Makes a big difference on the finished project. With the meshings now in place, I'm going to start prepping the mask for where I'm going to put some of the, I'd say, cushiony places. Because now the mask is looking pretty fresh. The eye sockets are held. I trimmed back some of the excess on the inside of the mask. That way it didn't get anywhere near the nose and eyes area. And now we're basically in one of the final stages. We're going to make sure that we get anything that we maybe missed cleaned up, but overall, it's coming together quite nicely. So for the inside of the mask to cushion it out, I'm going to be using what I have of this travel case that I use for some of my Warhammer and gaming D&D miniatures. And I'm just going to rip apart an old one that, as you can see, some animals and just whatever through moving have just been stomped on. I clean off some of these and then I'm going to apply them to the inside of the mask. Once I have the pieces that I want and selected, I start placing them and kind of dry fitting them in the area that I want, seeing how they're going to lay. Before this, I put the mask on and kind of felt where it would hit and in what areas I felt like it needed it. I also added some of these cheek slots because I felt like it was quite needed, just to make sure that the mask didn't really touch any part of your face. After a moment, I then went in and I added some hot glue to attach them all. Now we are almost done with one of the last steps. We are going to use the elastic, and I'm going to make sure before applying it with the hot glue that you rough up the texture where it's going to adhere to. That way it just has a better chance of staying longer. I'm going to make sure to apply quite a lot of hot glue on where I want this to go. The print, I'm pretty sure, has these holes you can go through them, and I think it's even been updated that now there's an actual like slit, which I even thought about possibly using. But I go in and a little out of view here, but I just pushed it in really solid, making sure to get quite a lot of surface area. That way it was quite strong. Making sure it was really well attached, and then I just go around and make sure that with a few easy strokes and passes of the hot glue gun to just make sure that it's kind of sealed in around the edges, just once again giving it a little bit more strength. Now, before you cut your elastic, and I'm not sure if I mentioned, I'm using, I'm pretty sure 3/4 of an inch thick elastic. You're going to need to measure before you make your cut. When you do so, make sure you have already measured out about the area that you are going to want to have your strap set to. That way, when you go to adhere it, you already know. Like here, I've already pre-measured it out. And the way I did so was by basically strapping the mask on, measuring out the strength at which I wanted it to be, and then cutting there and adhering about an inch into the mask. And now, what a better way to reveal the mask than a nice little fun animation. Enjoy.
He escaped. We need to find him.
He's after me. I gotta run.
I got him. He shall no longer live.
Hopefully you enjoyed that short little fun animation. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment letting me know. Did you think 1339 was going to survive? Did you print off the mask yourself? If you did, send me some images, drop me a comment, let me know. And until the next video, everyone, whether friend or foe, have a good one.